At the end of January 2024, Pope Francis inaugurated a year of prayer so that we can prepare for the Jubilee of 2025. That means that this year is a great opportunity to rediscover the value of prayer and the need for daily prayer. It is also a time for extra individual prayer, which could be anything from just making the sign of the cross to praying the rosary, spontaneous prayer from the heart, or going to Mass. A concrete initiative that the Pope is doing involves what they're calling School of Prayer, in which the Holy Father will participate in various moments of encounter with specific groups of people to pray together using different kinds of prayer. Prayers of thanksgiving and intercession, prayers of contemplation and consolation, and prayers of adoration and petition. This year of prayer will be a time for all of us to strengthen our relationship with God. Archbishop Rino Fisichella of the Dicastery for Evangelization said that it will offer us moments of spiritual rest like an oasis sheltered from daily stress, where prayer becomes nourishment for the Christian life of faith, hope, and charity. Indeed, prayer is always good. Prayer is always important, and it's always a good time to spend it in prayer. I'm Deacon Pedro, and this is the Salt and Light Hour. Hello and welcome to an all-new Salt and Light Hour. I'm Deacon Pedro, and sitting here with me is Billy Chan. Welcome, Billy.
Thank you. Thank you, Pedro. I'm so happy to see you,
Yeah,
especially in this season. The winter, the winter is finally here.
I
Okay.
know where it's almost March and now winter has started. But I know we're going to talk about this later, but you just came back from Fatima.
Yes, I just came back from Fatima. I just came back from basically Portugal, Lisbon, and it was my first time to
Yeah,
be there. I had a lot of story to share. It's crazily like,
I'm sure. Yeah, because I remember when we went for World Youth Day, I
yeah.
thought that you might be going, but you were not able to go.
I think first of all, I'm overage. I'm too old to go. I'm not a youth anymore.
Yeah.
But the thing is, choosing a low season, is a winter.
Oh, that's better.
Uh,
Good tips. Tips for traveling on pilgrimage.
yeah, yeah. For pilgrimage is amazing. You can spend a lot of time with Mary.
So it wasn't
Uh,
busy. It wasn't busy.
oh, it wasn't busy at all. I do not need to line up for any restaurant. The
Really?
the price for the hotel is very reasonable.
Okay.
Uh, is we are just so happy to be there with peace and calm moment.
Yeah, no, you're right. It makes a huge difference when you go to a shrine and it's not busy. Okay, so that's Billy Chan's new segment is called Advice on Going on Pilgrimages. So if you want to go to Fatima, go in February or end of January. That's the time
Yeah,
to go. Billy, so we're back after our winter break. So it's good to be back. And yeah, obviously you're in the show today, but Damien O'Connor from the Knights of Columbus is also going to be with us. And he's going to be telling
ah,
us about there's a great resource. I mean, the Knights of Columbus are always putting out great resources, and this one is
yes,
specific. That's going to be very interesting for people who work for the armed forces, but
ah,
but it's also, I think, interesting and useful for anyone. So Damien O'Connor is going to be with us in about 5 minutes to tell us about this wonderful resource from the Knights of Columbus, and then you're going to be back to tell us to ask a question.
yes. I will talk about Fatima, and the only thing that I was surprised in
Okay.
Fatima.
Okay, so a question about Fatima that surprised Billy.
Exactly.
Billy, who knows everything about the church, did not know about this one thing. Um, okay, so that's great. So that's Church for Dummies in about 15 minutes. And then in our second half hour, okay, so um, have you heard about this new film that's coming out called Cabrini?
No,
Okay, so hold on a second. So this
no.
is a film.
I thought you were talking about the chosen, but
No. Cabrini. So Cabrini. So it's from the same studio as The Chosen, but
oh, okay.
Cabrini. So listen to the film description. So after witnessing disease and poverty in the slums of New York, Italian immigrant Francesca Cabrini embarks on a daring journey to persuade the hostile mayor to provide housing and healthcare for hundreds of orphaned children. So it just sounds like a story of immigrants and, Italian immigrants coming to the United States at the turn of the 20th century. Now, you know who Francesca Cabrini was.
No, I'm sorry, I do
Okay,
not know.
no, that's okay. You might have heard her name.
Saint? Okay.
Saint Frances Cabrini was she's a very famous missionary nun who came to the United States from Italy. She's the founder of the Missionary Sisters of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. She is the first U.S. citizen to be canonized. Even though she was born in Italy, she emigrated to the United States already as a religious sister, but she became an American citizen. And she is the first U.S. citizen to be canonized. And so, of course, the film is about sexism and Italianism in New York City.
So she is also the first saint of the USA.
Technically, yes, even though she wasn't born in the USA. So there's this new film about this woman who was a very strong woman at a time when the whole world was all about, ruled by men. The mayor was a man, the priests and the bishops are all men. And they went on to found orphanages and hospitals, as far as I know, all over the United States. So that film's coming out on March 8th, and we're going to get a chance to speak with one of the producers today. Leo Severino is going to join us in about 25 minutes to tell us about this new film, Cabrini. I've seen the trailer. You look it up, Billy, because the trailer looks it's fantastic. It looks like it's so well done. So, and it's a good story. So I presume that it's going to be a good film.
And it's also the day of, March 8th, which is the day of the women.
March
right?
8th. There you go. So that's I didn't think of that, but so that's coming up in our second half hour. We're going to learn all about the film Cabrini, and then at the end of the show, I don't need to talk too much about our featured artist today because it's Father Rob Galea. And I know you know him.
I love him.
Okay, good. So we don't usually have Father Rob on the show. He has been on the show a few times, but he lives in Australia, and it's not very easy to try to connect with him. But he's these couple of weeks he's actually in North America traveling. So we grabbed him. We grabbed him earlier in the week while he was in New York City, in Brooklyn. To do
that's good.
A little interview. He's got some new songs, and so we're going to be speaking with Father Rob and catching up and listening to some of his new music. And his music is always, as Billy said, very good music.
Yeah, everyone should listen to him. Everyone.
Okay, good. Billy approves. So that's Father Rob Galea at the end of the program in about 40 minutes. And if you're not going to be able to listen to the show because you're driving or something in 40 minutes, just go to our website, slmedia.org. And that's where you can listen to the whole show. And you can also subscribe to the Salt and Light Hour podcast on Spotify. Actually, you can try your voice activated device. I've been telling Alexa to play the Salt and Light Hour Catholic podcast, and she does. So
I need to try my Siri.
Yeah, try Siri and try Google Play. Google, I mean, it works. So you can use your voice activated devices to listen to the Salt and Light Hour Catholic podcast. Anyway, let's start with the song. For Billy, here is Father Rob Galea with a new single called "See the Light."
I see the light, feel the light, know it's satisfied. There must be more to it. You and I, we're called to fly through it, moving on, not holding back. See the light, feel the light, know it's satisfied. Must be more to it. You and I, called to fly through it, moving on, not holding back. I know there must be more. You're all I'm wanting for. Come to me, you who are weary, I will give you. Come to me, you who are weary, I will give you. See the light, feel the light, know it's satisfied. Must be more to it. Come to me, you who are weary, I will give you. Come to me, you who are weary, I will give
That was Father Rob Galea with his new single, See the Light, and singing with him was Thomas Byrne. And we're going to be speaking with Father Rob at the end of the program, so I hope that you can stick around for that. And now it's time for Into the Breach with Damien O'Connor, whom we haven't seen for, it feels like you haven't been on the show in like years.
It's been a while. I've been hiding.
A while. You've been hiding. You've been busy. You've been busy putting out new resources.
We're trying our best. Yeah.
Trying your
best. Good to see you, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. Happy winter. Happy Lent.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all good.
Happy old. Yeah, it's amazing that it's like February. We're already in Lent. At least here, it's like winter just started.
Yeah. It's pretty cold here, but not as cold. I'm sure it's colder there.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it's colder where you are, but it's today it's pretty cold. Anyways, you're going to tell us about a resource. It's not a new resource though, but it's a resource that I just heard about, and it's a very exciting resource that's useful for people in the armed forces, but I think it's probably useful for everyone.
That's correct. And thank you again for having me. It always is a pleasure to be with you. We just recently celebrated our 75th anniversary of what's called Catholic Information Service.
Okay.
And very briefly, it's really a ministry for the Knights of Columbus. And it started back in the day to provide information about the Catholic faith formation materials at little or no cost. And so we try to keep the cost really, really low. Okay. And we recently had that anniversary. But what we also had was the anniversary of a resource called Armed with the Faith.
Right.
And it's a Catholic handbook for military personnel, and we created in partnership with the Archdiocese of Military Services, and that just had its 20th anniversary, and it's a pretty cool.
It's a lot of anniversaries. Yeah. Can I just? Yeah, I want to hear the story, but can I just ask you about Catholic? I'm just kind of here, like our listeners are like Catholic information. So, like, what is that? So, are you putting out? Are these like what kinds of resources? Like catechetical resources, or?
It's catechetical resources, it's formative resources, it's all in the Catholic faith, and some are more basic and some are more advanced.
And these are available for who?
For anybody.
So anybody can just look up Catholic Information Service and
absolutely
like shop online. What?
They can go right to the website. It's kfc.org/shopcis.
Shop CIS at the Knights of Columbus, KFC. Okay, good.
And I'm glad you asked that, because it's not just for Knights of Columbus. This ministry was started for anyone that wanted to learn more about the faith and sometimes have to defend the faith. And so you need information.
I guess it's a good place to go for organizations that wanted to have, or parishes, if they wanted to have, multiple copies of a resource to make available to the parishioners or to their members.
Exactly.
It's that kind of idea.
And they're in multiple languages: English, French, Spanish, Polish, Korean.
Oh, wow.
We try to.
And you're old enough to remember when it started, because weren't you the director?
Aren't we running out of time?
So lots of resources, kfc.org/shop CIS, Catholic Information Service. And then, so good. So now we can talk about Armed with the Faith. That is a resource for people in the military
personnel. In particular, it's for those that are deployed, because they're dealing with often very difficult circumstances, especially depending on where they are. Could be in war or a torn area. So the book was really inspired by a guy named Franklin Woodbury. So this is back in the early 2000s, right after 9/11 here in the U.S. And he said, when I was in the Korean War, I had a prayer book, and it really helped me a great deal, to get through the difficult times there. And so he had this beat up prayer book that he mailed to then Supreme Knight Carl Anderson. And he said what I just told you, that, this was really helpful to me. And wouldn't it be great if we created a new resource for military that are deployed? And so he did. He mailed the copy to Carl Anderson.
Wow.
And Carl responded, and I quote, "Absolutely, we can do this, and we will do this." And so this good man that's just trying to help other military personnel out said, maybe we could do this. And so we did. So we created this prayer book that is loaded with lots of great information. So specific prayers that you and I might know, but other prayers as well that are specific to the military. And it also has saints that are known as patron saints of the military as well. And so we found that it's really useful. The military really appreciate that they have access to this. It's also free to them. We don't charge any money for it. And practically speaking, there's different editions out there, but the one that goes to the people that are deployed, those are actually waterproof. You know, they get beat up. And,
I was going to ask you, so it's plasticized?
Yeah.
And it
needs to endure rugged conditions.
Yeah, and it can get, wow.
Sure. And but you yourself or any of the listeners could go to the website we just gave, and they could order it as well, a regular paper copy if you want to. But for those that are deployed, we send the one that's more rugged, and they appreciate that.
Okay, I want the rugged version.
Sure, I can get you. How many?
Can you give me one in English and one in Spanish? So, and is it? I presume it's also a small size that fits in your jacket pocket or somewhere. Like, where does a soldier keep this prayer book?
Well, that's up to the soldier, of course. But yes, it could fit in your pockets. They have a variety of pockets, usually in the uniforms that they wear and their bags and luggage and all that stuff that they carry with them. Yeah. It does fit very easily, and it's meant to. It's again rugged, waterproof, but also it's very practical. So wow. Our current, if I may, he's called Supreme Master. That his name is Michael McCusker. He now oversees the 4th degree worldwide for the Knights of Columbus. He has a great story about when he was deployed. I think it was in 2005, 2006 to Afghanistan. He depended on that prayer book, Armed with the Faith. And so it's interesting how he's now in charge of our 4th degree guys worldwide. Wow. And he speaks very highly of it. And he said, I'd go get my morning chow, I'd pray the rosary, and I'd read through my prayer book, and then I'd read a couple chapters in a gospel. And it was kind of his routine, but it was such a good resource. It helped him get through that time.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I actually have heard, since I found out about this resource, that it's been useful for even non-Catholics, that they really appreciate, even non-Christians, that they appreciate that there's something tangible that they can use, or at least remind them to pray or read through. Sure. As well. Yeah.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. Okay. So Armed with the Faith. I blanked out there. Armed with the Faith, available through Catholic Information Service, Knights of Columbus, kfc.org/shop-CIS. And you can order the paper copy unless you're deployed, or unless Damien O'Connor knows you personally and he can send you a rugged copy, the plasticized one, so you can take it outside in the rain and the mud with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And any of the military already know about it, and they can go to the Archdiocese Military Services.
Right.
They will also just send it out for free too.
And I guess if you don't know about it and you're hearing about it for the first time, you can go talk to your padre. The chaplain will know about it. All the chaplains, and not just in the United States. I'm sure chaplains all over.
That's correct.
And you said that it's available in multiple languages, as well, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So anywhere you are, I know that there was probably a huge new print edition in Ukrainian, correct?
That's right.
To help support people there. Okay, Damien, thank you. This is a very important resource. And for us who are not in the military, I think it's a reminder to keep them in our prayers.
Amen.
Yeah. Amen. They do. That's a hard job. Thank you, Damien O'Connor. Thank you for this. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, my friend.
Damien O'Connor. He's the Vice President, Evangelization and Faith Formation for the Knights of Columbus. You can learn more at kofc.org.
Hey, I'm Sarah Kroger, and you're listening to the Salt and Light Hour with Deacon Pedro.
Salt and Light TV is available on Roku and Amazon Fire. You can go to slmedia.org/plus to find out how to subscribe. And now it's time for
Church for Dummies
with Billy Chan, who just got off the plane from Fatima and is terrified.
You know,
what did you find out in
no,
Fatima?
the thing is that you can hear my exciting voice. The reason is my first time to visit a place that about apparition of Mary. Okay, this is my
Okay.
first time to go. That's why I was so excited when I was there. The place it was like a peaceful heaven. That's what I find. That's how I
Yes.
find it.
Good.
It's very peaceful. The only thing that
Mm.
I find I have a question about is I don't know if you have been in Fatima, but I can just give a little description about that. There is a huge plaza, and
Mhm.
obviously there's the most important uh, signature church or basilica in it's called Basilica of the Rosary of Mary, and just beside it there is another like little chapel is called Chapel of a Person. So it's the last time that Mary appeared
Mhm.
during the incident. But just beside that little chapel, there's a barbecue place. I'm sorry to explain.
A
There's a
barbecue place.
yes. So and I visited the gift shop,
Mhm.
and almost every gift shop there is something called uh, body part wax. And those body parts are like they is not only body, it's also like hands, legs,
Yeah.
uh,
Yes.
all the like heart, uh,
Yes. Yes.
even baby. Okay, I can
Yes.
see baby there. I can see like all the organ
Yes.
you can buy, and though that barbecue like place that is actually for us to 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 burn those body parts. So I this is
Okay.
the only one thing that I find yeah, uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Uh, can you please explain
Can I,
that
yeah.
to
Can I
me,
just
please?
say that of all the questions that you have ever asked me for how many years, this is absolutely the weirdest question. 100% the weirdest question. And there are some weird, can I just say, some weird things that Catholics do. So just to clarify, so this barbecue place that Billy's talking about is a place where you can burn things. So there's a fire, right? And
Yes.
you can burn things. And the body parts made of wax are exactly that's what it is. They're body parts or a little baby or there you probably saw even other things like there could be little cars made out of wax or a
Yes.
little other things. Okay, so those it is weird. So those things are called ex votos. So ex votos is actually a thing, yeah, and it that's Latin for short for Latin for a phrase in Latin that means from the vow made. So the idea, and this goes back to like the 15th century. So the idea is that people um, would go to a saint or to Mary and ask for a favor, make a request, and sometimes they would leave a gift, a vote, to represent the vow that they've made.
Yeah.
So if they want to have a baby and they can't
Hmm.
conceive, they would leave a little picture of a baby or a little
Oh.
statue of a baby. In Mexico is very popular where they make these paintings on metal, like metal tins,
Yeah.
and it's a drawing or a painting, but it's also a description of what it is. So it's a vow. So you leave something to represent the
Hmm.
vow or the request that you've made. Or if the favor is granted, then you go back to the saint or to Mary and leave something representing there. So, Billy, it's the same thing here in Canada. If you go to St. Joseph's Oratory,
Yes.
people leave their crutches or their
Yes.
canes or even wheelchairs. It's the same thing. Those are ex votos as well. They represent a vow that was made or a request that was fulfilled. Now, the most common one is candles, and we call them votive candles because it's the same thing. It represents a vow. So you light a candle, you make a prayer request, you light a candle, and presumably that candle, your request that's continually being made, while the candle burns. There are stories of people that they have such a long request that they would make candles that were, as tall as a person, 8 feet tall, to make sure that the candle would burn very, very, very long. There are also stories of, kings that they would win, that they survived a shipwreck or something. And so then they would go back to the saint or to Mary and leave the whole ship or a replica of the ship. An ex voto could be a whole cathedral. Like there might be a king or someone that might say, thank you for granting me this favor. I'm going to build this whole church for you. So that's where the tradition comes from.
So wait a minute. So that doesn't mean that when your prayer got fulfilled and you can do that just to say thanks.
Yes, both.
God.
So both.
Okay.
So to go back to Fatima, and I agree, it's a little weird. So to go back to Fatima, people will go to Fatima or Lourdes. I don't know if they have the same type of thing in Lourdes, but you go to Fatima, as you described, and let's say someone has, a problem with their leg. So they go to the store, they buy a wax leg, and then they ask for the prayer for their leg, and then they can go and make the offering and burn that in the place that you call the barbecue. Or if you were healed, then you could do the same thing. You could buy the leg. Now, I think that the more effective ex votos are the ones that you actually leave so that people who come and visit can see it. So burning it, I don't know. I mean, it's the same thing, but it kind of doesn't make sense. But I'm sure that at Fatima, you also there might be paintings or pictures or a place where people can leave flowers. I used to be a member of a parish here in Toronto where there were a lot of Filipinos and a lot of Sri Lankans, and they would bring food and leave it at the foot of the statue. Or, I mean, flowers. You can bring flowers. It's the same thing. So you make an offering because you made a request, or you bring an offering to thank in Thanksgiving for that request. So that's really what it is, the ex votos.
I see. That yes, there is a place. I didn't see a lot of people leaving different like food or flowers, but there is a museum in Fatima. They actually store a lot of things that people want to honor or say thanks.
Yes.
To Our Lady of Fatima. So
it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. So basically, is to contribute or to say thanks. Let's say if Pedro, you want to thank Billy, you can just give me something, right? Something like that.
Yes, I can. Yeah. And if Billy grants my favor, Billy helped me with something, then I can give Billy something that represents that thing that you helped me with. So that's really what. So remember, it's about a vow, the votive, and the most common one, like I said, are the votive candles that you go to any shrine around the world and you can just light a candle. It's the same thing.
Exactly. So the reason I said it's barbecue is because of it's huge. Yes. But I totally understand why it has to be huge, because a lot of people want to do that.
Yes.
And just for the convenience of everyone can do that, so they make it huge. But sorry to say that if it's not respectful when I say barbecue.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. And to your point, Billy, you were telling me before we started recording, it would be good for people, the organizers in Fatima, to explain this to people, because you're right. If someone has no idea, even if they're Catholic, they go and like, what is going on? What are these body parts? It is a little weird. But that's the tradition. But we don't have to do it. It's like any devotion. There's no obligation to do it. You can do whatever you want when you go to Fatima.
Thank you. That's my question.
Yeah, it's a good question. Weird, but good. All right, Billy Chan, always asking very good questions. You can follow him and ask him questions at bjoechan. Coming up in our second half hour, a film about St. Francis Cabrini, and we reconnect with singer-songwriter Father Rob Galea, so stay tuned. Hello and welcome to the Salt and Light Hour Part 2. I'm Deacon Pedro. Based on a true story, Cabrini tells the tale of an immigrant woman's fight for the equality, health, and happiness of immigrant orphans in the late 1800s. What this brief description doesn't tell us is that this woman is Francesca Cabrini, otherwise known as Saint Francis Cabrini, the first U.S. citizen to be canonized. St. Frances Cabrini is the founder of the Missionary Sisters of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, which became the first female missionary order to be sent on missions abroad. She and her sisters arrived in New York City in 1889 and, overcoming all kinds of obstacles, went on to found 67 hospitals, orphanages, and schools all over the world. The film is set to be in theaters on March 8th, and so, to tell us more, I am now joined by the film's producer, Leo Severino. Leo, welcome to the Salt and Light Hour. It's so good to have you on the program.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Deacon. Thank you for all your good work. God bless you.
I wanted to speak to you when Bella came out, whenever that was. I was going to say 10, 15 years ago.
That's right.
That was it. You've come a long way since then. I mean, that was a huge success.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about why you and the team wanted to tell this particular story.
Well, thank you so much for remembering Bella. That was our first little foray into making films on our own. And this one, quite frankly, was one that we didn't necessarily want to make. We'd made Bella, and we had a little boy right afterwards. And then, of course, Sound of Freedom.
Yeah.
And after Sound of Freedom, we were actually on course to make another film entirely, which hopefully will be our next film. But then the executive producer who had funded our film, Bella, called and he said, "I want to make another film." We said, "Great, we've got this one we're developing." He's like, "No, I want to make a film about Mother Cabrini." And I said, "Mother who?" She said, "It's the first American saint." And I was like, "Oh, I thought that was St. Elizabeth
Seton."
Elizabeth Ann Seton.
Yeah.
And he said, "No, that's the first naturally born saint, but the first American because Mother Cabrini became an American citizen. The first American saint is actually Mother Cabrini." And I said, "Oh, okay. So you're talking about making a film about a 19th century nun who no one knows." And he said, basically, ye of little faith. He sent me a book on her life. And when I read it, I was just blown away. The adversity she overcame, the obstacles that were in her life, including her own frailty. She was given a year to live multiple times throughout her entire life, and all this incredible underdog story, and how many people she actually affected, how many millions of lives and souls that she touched, and no one knows her name. So I thought, wow, there's a story here for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is quite the story.
Have you seen it yet, DK?
Yes, I have, and I loved it. Yeah. Right.
No, but the idea is to get her known, and it's to reach a broad an audience as possible. So you kind of the listeners to this show are very likely people that are either already know about Mother Cabrini, or once they're kind of exposed, it's kind of a natural fit. But in reality, we want to make her known the worldwide because her story is worth telling, and it's so inspiring that it's an incredible role model for anyone of any faith, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I was watching it and I was thinking, oh, I need to tell there's so many Italian Canadians, right? It's like I need to tell all because I think that for them particularly, but then I thought, and you see this in the film too, that it's like a broader perspective of how United States, and in our case, Canada, it's built by immigrants, really. And it's people like Francesca Cabrini who really build these countries.
Yeah, that's it. It's sadly an unknown tale that this woman, despite all of her frailties, by way of a little background for your readers who might not know, when she was 7 years old, she got smallpox and almost died. Then she got tuberculosis, and it compromised her immune system, compromised her lungs, barely survived that. And then she almost drowned in a river. And according to her own writings, she actually died in the river. I mean, she just couldn't take any more breaths, and it was pulled out kind of miraculously. And every year of her, she was given just a year to live, kind of constantly. And then she had to face, when she started her order, anti-Italian, anti-immigrant, anti-Catholic, anti-woman, all these kind of institutional obstacles to just get food to people, and just to get the basic necessities of life, and the dignity of even dying in a place where someone's praying for them or trying to take care of them. She was canonized in 1946. There was a young nun who was at her canonization who was so inspired that a few months later she left her order of teaching nuns, the Loreto nuns, to start her own order of missionaries. And of course, that nun is Mother Teresa.
Yeah,
she was inspired by Mother Cabrini. So this woman is a powerful force.
Yeah. So in your mind, because the film, obviously, as you said, it's a film about a woman's faith, but the fact that she's a woman, I think, is super important in the story. What would you say the film is really, really, really about?
I think it's a universal underdog tale. There's two lines in the film that I think are very telling. One of them, she says, because of all the adversity she was facing, she says, "I can serve my weakness or I can serve my purpose, not both.
Yes.
Right. And I think that
So profound.
encapsulates, what the film is really about. And there's another one, which she says, which might sound at first blush like, wow, this is someone who really thinks a lot of themselves. But she said, the world is too small for what I intend to do.
Mm.
And that's when someone was trying to limit the scope of her vision. And now, more than a century later, that there's a film that's going to be globally released. Um, Maybe she wasn't just talking about the world at her time.
Yeah.
Maybe the idea is that she had this sense, obviously from God and her faith, that she could affect people maybe a century after she died. And I think that's the sort of vision that we should all have, shouldn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. There's another line, the one about, you would have you would have made a great man. And then
Yes,
she
that's right.
says,
Yeah, yeah,
men
yeah.
could never do what we women do,
That's
which I
right.
think is also, there's a very strong message there for women. Um, how would you say, or what would you say to that person that maybe is not Catholic,
Yeah.
just thinking like, why do I want to watch, a story about a nun? I'm not an immigrant. But
Oh, because
the story is relevant for people today, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
No, this film wasn't made for nuns or for immigrants or just for women or anything like that. We wanted to make a great story that would be universal and appealing to all people.
Mm.
Something in the realm of like a Gandhi or a classic film that's Gone with the Wind, where you don't have to be a Hindu monk to appreciate this film. And hopefully, I don't know if you noticed or what you thought, Deacon, about the cinematography or the
Oh,
acting or
it's so well done.
right. So that's our hope, is to make a film that's even
It's so
critically
well done.
acclaimed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, not to put Bella on the spot, but that in a way, I mean, so you look back at when you started, and not just you, but this whole sort of quote unquote Christian film industry that has come such a huge way, and the standards are so much higher, and they have to be,
I
because you
hope
have to
so.
compete, you have to compete with Hollywood.
Now, listen,
Um,
Bella has a soft spot in my heart because it was our first one, and as
yeah.
you might well know, Salt and Light was
Yeah,
instrumental in
absolutely. I mean,
getting it
the
out
Toronto
there, and
Film Festival. Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
And was it Father Rosica at the time, I
Yes, it
think?
was Father
Yeah.
Rosica. Yeah.
And that film went on to actually save lives, so you can't fault it
Yes.
for that. But I should hope that we have grown as filmmakers, and that I've grown as a producer, and that
Hmm.
our director Alejandro and screenwriters have grown
Right.
in their capacity to develop
Absolutely.
excellence. So right, that's
Yeah.
the idea,
Yeah.
is to consistently top ourselves.
Yeah. And you did that. You did it with Sound of Freedom. I mean, so many more people will watch this film that maybe watched Bella,
Well, I
because
hope that,
times are different.
that's the
Um,
hope. That's the hope.
and I would guess that another hope that you have, just like you just said about Bella, that this movie might also maybe save lives.
Listen, we leave the results to God, right? We just do our
Amen.
best to be faithful. But yes, I mean, so far, with Sound of Freedom, we raised so much awareness. Even
Yeah.
laws were passed to
Incredible.
be stricter against child trafficking and that sort of thing, sex trafficking generally.
Yeah.
And then with this film, the idea is to help those who need help. Right? Mother Cabrini would be the type of person right now, and I'm in Los Angeles, and it's a rare day of it raining something fierce.
Mm.
But if Mother Cabrini, I just imagined her, if she was driving and she saw, a homeless couple or something out in the rain, she wouldn't, maybe stop and give them some money or offer some food. She would make sure they had a place to stay that
Yeah.
was dry. She would find a way. That's just the way she worked. That's the way
Yeah.
she was
Yeah.
wired. And boy, if so many of us took that approach, how much better could this world be?
Yeah, absolutely. And not take no for an answer, or not, like some of us want to do something, we struggle hard, but then there are so many obstacles, and we just kind of figured maybe God's putting those obstacles. And she was like, no, I'm
Yeah,
going
yeah.
no matter what. We're going to get this done. Um,
Inspirational, right? Yeah, she would think
absolutely.
she gauged if the initial seed she thought was good, true, beautiful, then she's like, this comes from God, and I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna act as if this is already done. And now
Yes.
it's just a matter of the details, right?
Yeah.
An incredible mentality this woman
Yeah,
had.
no, and that in itself, yeah, is a huge lesson for all of us. Leo, thank you so much. When I heard about this film, I was super excited. I thought, wow, I really want to watch it. And like you said, it's so well done. The cinematography, the performances, it's just a wonderful film. I really encourage all our all our listeners to go and get a ticket and go watch it. And I look forward to maybe having you on the program again, so we can talk about that next project that's coming up.
Happy to. And thank you to all your listeners. Yes, you can support us by going to angel.com/Cabrini.
Good stuff. All right. Well, thank you so much. God bless, and hope to stay in touch.
Thank you, Deacon. Appreciate it. God bless you and all your good work.
Thank you. Leo Severino has produced several films, including Bella and, most recently, Sound of Freedom. His latest project, Cabrini, based on the life of St. Francis Cabrini, goes to theaters on March 8th. You can find out more and see where you can go watch it at angel.com. Here now is Father Rob Galea with his new single, Love You.
Capture every part of my heart, come in the light of my soul. I wanna fall in love again. In my brokenness, I can hear your voice. I will run to you again. I wanna love you. I wanna love you. I wanna love you. I wanna love you. There is no greater love, no greater peace than spending time with you. I'm sorry for turning away. I wanna live for you today. There's nothing I want more than this. I wanna love you. I wanna love you. I wanna love you. I wanna love you. Capture every part of my heart, come in and light of my soul. I wanna fall in love again. In my brokenness, I can hear your voice. I will run to you again. I wanna love you. I wanna love you. I wanna love you. I wanna
That was Father Rob Galea with his new single, Love You. Father Rob Galea probably needs no introduction. He's been on our TV network many, many times and on this program several times, but it's been almost 10 years now since then, so it's about time. Father Rob is a priest in the Diocese of Sandhurst, Australia, and the founder of Icon Ministry. He spends a lot of his time performing, recording, speaking to groups, and traveling. If you haven't yet heard of Father Rob Galea, I'm glad you tuned in today. He is one of the most popular Catholic singer-songwriters in the world. We caught up with him last week during a recent trip to the United States.
Thank you. Good to be on the show again after a long time away.
And you are.
I missed you, Pedro. I missed
come
you.
on. You are in New York City? I don't ever know where you are.
Yes, so at the moment I'm in Brooklyn and
Brooklyn.
I've just come from Poland, speaking in Poland. I'm originally from Australia, so
Yes.
that's where I started off. And then after this, I think I'm going to Vancouver and from
You're gonna be in
Vancouver to
Vancouver.
Miami.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, this is going to air after I think you've already returned to Australia. So this is is it fair to say that because you're busy, you're a priest, you have a parish, you have Icon Ministries that we're going to talk a little bit about, but do you take like one trip a year to do Europe, North America? Is that sort of how it's organized?
Yeah, so look, I work full time for Icon Ministry,
Hmm.
and it's my full time position
Okay.
where we have a big team, and then on the weekends I work in a parish. So, and then about maybe 2 times a year I take
Okay.
two trips, one through Southeast Asia and India, and the other one through North America.
Right.
And
Okay.
then I travel through Australia throughout the year.
Right, exactly. Tell us about Icon Ministries because that's a new, I guess that's the biggest, most recent news, the rebrand.
Yes. Yes. So Icon Ministry, not ministries.
Oh, sorry.
Icon Ministry, because that's a separate ministry,
Yes,
and people,
something else.
I'm terrified right now that people will go to the wrong one. But
Right,
Icon Ministry is it was previously called FRG Ministry. So FRG Ministry, Father Rob Galea was under my name,
right.
and it started with me touring, and it was just simply about me going around the world. But eventually, especially after COVID, the the ministry started to grow, and now I have 14 staff, and we reach
Mm,
literally millions of people across the world. So it became less about Father Rob and more about our outreach. So we stopped, we prayed, and we thought of naming the ministry Icon Ministry, which is taken from Second Colossians, which talks about um, the that the it says this. It says the God of this world, the small g, the God of this world, the devil, has blinded the people so that they cannot see the icon of God, who is Christ.
mm.
So our ministry, our role is to reveal the icon, to reveal Jesus to a world that is blinded and cannot see.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Um, so it's not only Father Rob. There are other offerings, workshops, courses, retreats. What's the ministry about?
Yes, so we do online courses, encounter courses. We have our podcast, which is the Catholic Influencers
Yes.
podcast, which
Yeah.
last year was the top podcast in Australia as well. So that was pretty incredible for us.
Yeah.
We run formation days for staff members. We have online liturgies and mass, and also now we're starting video gaming. So we're creating a video game on Roblox to evangelize. We're basically
Really?
planting a church, building a church on Roblox,
Oh,
to
wow.
evangelize there as well.
Okay, that's super interesting. So does that mean that your specific ministry, so Father Rob Gallia, your ministry has changed focus? Are you doing more or less or the same?
Well, I still tour. I'm part of Icon Ministry. Now I'm only one of the things under Icon.
Hmm.
So before it was everything that I centered around me, and then
Hmm.
I just it wasn't about me, so it wasn't named correctly eventually. So
Right.
now FRG Ministry still exists, but it exists as my touring
Hmm.
and my music and my writing it myself as an author, myself as a musician,
Right.
myself as a speaker.
Right. And so in all that, you still find time to write music and record? Where do you fit all that in?
Yes, I make the time, Pedro. You see, sometimes making music is a gift that I need to use, I need to utilize. And the thing is, the bigger the ministry becomes, the more I can focus on what I'm doing because I have team members around me that can build
Mm,
everything else. So there's a point where I didn't have the time. In fact, over the last few years, didn't have time to write music.
really?
But now I'm coming back. I'm coming back
Hmm.
to writing. I'm writing a book as well.
Hmm.
I'm doing a few things, writing new talks and new presentations.
That's great. So the songs that we've been hearing, we heard "See the Light" at the beginning of the program, and just before you came on, we heard "Love You," and then at the end of the show, we're going to play "Welcome You." Those are new songs. It's great to hear new music. Um, you're also collaborating. Are they co-written, or you just like to they're co-performed with other people?
Well, I think one of the things I find is when I co-write, when I write with different people, I write out of my comfort zone. And I
Mm,
believe that because of busyness, we become comfortable. So we write out of convenience. So now I'm going out of my way to collaborate with great artists
interesting.
to write things that I wouldn't necessarily write alone. And so this has been my journey. There has been a lot of collaborations over the last couple of years. I write a lot of songs alone, most of the songs that you hear, though I wrote the songs, but and then I get different producers and different artists to interpret them.
Okay.
So like Welcome Here, which you'll hear in a moment, I wrote. Love You, of course, I wrote with, and I sang that alone, but I wrote with a different artist, with an incredible artist. His name is Luke, and he is written for some of the best artists in Australia. And I just sat with him and we wrote this song together.
That's a very interesting approach. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that they need to be moved out of their comfort zone so that they can write, presumably, so that you can write better.
Yes, and differently, because what happens is if you don't co-write, just think of any of the top 10 songs anywhere, even CCM, Christian music, and look at the credits.
Yeah.
Yes, but look at the credits. The top 10 always are co-written because they don't make the top 10. Very rarely do they make the top 10 from an artist that writes alone, because good songwriting happens also with co-writes.
Yeah.
And even it's not only Christian music, any music. The top 10 are all co-write.
That's fascinating. Other than that, has your approach to writing changed in any way when you're writing by yourself? Do you still, what's that process like for you?
Well, for me, when I write alone, I write a lot about my own experience, and I'm melancholic, so I tend to find resolution in my song. You know, I approach a sadness, I approach a struggle, and then I find a resolution at the end.
Right.
But writing with other people, one of the things I've been trying to do is to end a song without a resolution. Because very often in songs, we try to have like this happy end story, this fairy tale. But at the end of the day, God, you're in control. No, sometimes you don't know that God is in control, even though that you know that you know.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're in a place where I don't know that God is in control. I don't know how this is going to end. And that very often is not interpreted in songs. And so this is where I'm writing at the moment, sitting in the lack of resolution.
That's fascinating. That's a very Lenten thing as we go into Lent.
Yeah. And sometimes we end up in a place where when we end up with a resolution, we end it out of faith. And I appreciate that, like God is going to have the final say. That's awesome. But sometimes we, like even in Lent, what about sitting in the empty tomb?
Yeah.
And not knowing that Jesus is going to rise from the dead? That's where people sat. That's where Martha, that's where Mary went. They went to the tomb not knowing that there was a resolution.
Yeah. And that's where a lot of people today are. That's where they live. People that you and I do ministry with. They're sitting on that Saturday, that Holy Saturday.
Yes.
Father Rob, I know you're busy, so I'm going to let you go. Thank you for sharing with us today, and you're specifically sharing the 3 new songs with us, and for you've given me a little bit of something to think about for Lent. Not always looking for a resolution, so thank you for that, and blessings on the rest of the tour.
Thank you. Thanks, Peter. God bless.
You too. You can learn more about Father Rob at his website, fatherrobgalea.com, and Icon Ministry is iconministry.com, but we're going to put those links on our website so that you can find them easily. That's slmedia.org/podcast. And to listen to this interview again or to hear the rest of the program, go to that same website. Again, slmedia.org/podcast. Here now to take us out is Father Rob Galea with Welcome Here, the official song for Pope Francis's visit to Malta in 2022.
Deeper than the sea, stronger than a water bravery, richer than our history, bigger than our dreams could ever be. There's a love the whole world knows. It's a love that's kind to all. You are welcome here. Let your love rain down into our hearts again. You are welcome here, but we lay it down. Let this land be yours again.
mercy and kindness that will welcome those in need.
We're listening to Father Rob Galea with Welcome Here, and singing with Father Rob is Maltese singer and X Factor Malta 2019 winner Michaela Pace. And that will take us to the end of our program. Remember that the best place to listen to our show is at our website, slmedia.org/podcast, but you can also listen to the Salt and Light Hour podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, and you can also ask your voice-activated device for the Salt and Light Hour Catholic podcast. It works. And you can find me, Deacon Pedro, on your social media, and you can also email me, pedro@slmedia.org. Thank you for being with us today. Let's continue to pray for each other and take care of each other. Let's also pray for all those prayer intentions that are offered in Fatima, for people who work in the military, and for all immigrants, and for all of you who are going to watch the film Cabrini. Let's also continue to pray for peace in Ukraine and in Israel and Palestine and in so many other places where there is conflict. And may you have a blessed Lenten season. I'm Deacon Pedro, and this has been the Salt and Light Hour.